It is a pleasure this afternoon to discuss this wonderful milestone with Heinrich Schulenburg, who is the MD of Wirtgen, South Africa. Welcome to the show, Mr. Heinrich. A pleasure to talk to you this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I would enjoy sharing some of the insights on this very exciting event with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It is incredibly exciting. And when we look at matters of infrastructure, anything that improves that is a happy new development for Africans. So as I noted in my introduction, this is the first cold in place recycling train on the continent. Why is this so important for your organization to introduce this technology, especially looking at the South African region right now?
There's many reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is that Africa has its challenges, especially with road infrastructure. And anything that can aid your cause in terms of rehabilitation or building new roads are obviously aiding our progress and getting our product to ports. And I think that's where the exciting part lies, is that you bring this technology to Africa. First of all, to do rehabilitation, yes, but cold recycling is a technology on its own. And with this machine, as you well mentioned in your introduction, we are going to combine a number of steps in the road rehabilitation process. And by combining them, you actually rehabilitate that road in one go, as opposed to various processes on its own. This becomes almost a process plant. And within that train, you do from the milling of the hard material on top, right through to your base material, and then paving it afterwards.
Okay. So if I'm listening and I'm not an engineer, I would want for you to explain to me, like a 5-year-old, exactly how this recycling train is going to work, and perhaps, I think most importantly, how it differs from traditional road rehabilitation methods.
Good. I'll start with the train and just give you an outline of what it consists of. First of all, you have the cold in place recycler, the Wirtgen CR380. Then it is followed by a paver, which lays down material, a Vogler 1900 in this instance. Two compaction rollers then gives you compaction of that material behind the paver. And finally, you do a bit of a sealing layer with your rubber-tired pneumatic rollers, also ham rollers, which is all part of our brand, the Wirtgen brand. And what it does is essentially the CR380, which is the main machine of the train, will cut out your top layer. In other words, let's say you have a asphalt road in place, but it's deteriorated to such an extent that you want to resurface it. You will start with this recycler. It will cut up, mill in our terminology. It will mill up the asphalt on top, but it will also dig in deeper in a recycling application, where you then cut into the top layer, but also the base layer. Combining these two materials, mixing it in place, in other words, in the machine, it gets added, which could be foam bitumen in this instance, let's say. There's many others you can use. So you then mix this cut out material in the chamber of this machine. It then gets taken up along a conveyor, dropped into the paver, and once it hits the paver, of course, then takes this material and puts it in place to specification in terms of depth, profile, and smoothness, whereafter the compaction rollers follow. The ham rollers then compacts this material in place, and after that you get the second set of ham rollers, which is the rubber-tired rollers, which then gives you the smoother surface. So what you're essentially doing is taking good material at the top, really good material in the base layer, you mix the two, you create an even better material, and you make that your new base layer. And this is all done in one go. You then can cover this. It can be traveled immediately, so there's an element of speed to it. And eventually you then put your final smaller layer or thinner layer of asphalt on top of that, which is the wear course, which then gives you the wear resistance that you need for any tired wheels traveling over it. And of course gives you the seal layer that takes out the weather elements and it doesn't deteriorate your base.
It's all very technical, but you know, and I'm trying to picture it as you speak, but we're going to try actually and fit in some footage for our viewers and our listeners in just a moment so that they can get an idea of exactly what you just explained around this technology. When I think about the N4, Mr. Heinrich, I think about it being an economic corridor. We think about the fact that it carries a lot of really heavy vehicles on a daily basis. So how does this technology reduce disruption? I think that's very critical to understand, especially when we're looking at this particular route.
Yes, the real benefit in terms of time lies in the fact that once you've laid down this layer, you can immediately travel it. So with conventional methods, this will need to dry out, achieve strength, in other words, give you the necessary resistance, and only then can you travel it. But you can also then, you will then have to put the wear layer on top. And that takes time. So in all that time, you will have to reroute the traffic in detours of some sort, which increases disruption, of course, on the road. Plus, it takes time to do this. And of course, you have to build the detours, which is costly as well. So in this instance, you will take this train of equipment and it will run through the process. Let's say 1 kilometer per day, typically. Once that is done and you've compacted it and you've given it a quick layer on top, not asphalt, you can travel it actually the next day. So in other words, let's say on Monday you do this 1 kilometer, by Tuesday you can travel it. But this is a continuous process, so you won't do it in 1 kilometer sections only. You will carry on with a number of kilometers and the traffic can actually travel on that same road that you've just put in place. You will then close it off again at one stage and do a quick asphalt layer, but that's another quick process. So in essence, you save a lot of time and you save the costly exercise of making too many detours, having stop and goes, which is so irritating for traffic users. And therefore, that's really where the benefit of this technology lies.
So let's look at, just the future outlook, perhaps. Mr. Schulenburg, if we're to fast forward 10 years from now, do you see cold place recycling becoming the standard approach across the African region? Is it something that is necessary in the next 10-year frame?
Yes, I would hope so. I think the technology lends itself to lots of cost savings for one, and then of course time saving is absolutely a done deal. What is also important is that I think what is really significant about this first for Africa is that the concessionaire track in this instance, our customer Taupeli, the contractor, and then of course KBK Engineers, who's the design engineers on the road, have come together in a tripartite alliance. And I think that needs to be also said, is that wherever a road is designed or have to be rehabilitated, you need this cooperation between the three parties that are involved. And if Africa can get this right, there is huge opportunity for this type of technology to take over a lot of the existing technologies that is available. What really brings us closer to the answer is essentially the speed enhancement, and then of course the savings. What is important to understand is that this technology gives you the opportunity to make use of existing material. And as we all know, to dig out aggregate or drill and blast and then crush is quite expensive. So if you want to use new material, it's at a huge cost. It's also at the, let's call it not a benefit to the environment by, carving out half of a mountain. So you're using existing materials that's already there, paid for by past generations, and still very good material because nothing has deteriorated. Your bitumen mostly deteriorates because of the environmental factors that you now use with that good aggregate that is already paid for, and you're creating another base or a new base, which is essentially stronger than the one you had before. So you're not only improving the road in that same action, you're also making use of sustainable principles in the sense that you use existing materials, you're making additions that are in essence a lot more beneficial because of the less material used, like bitumen. If you use foamed bitumen, for instance, you make use of much less bitumen, which is a costly component of an asphalt road. You make use of that, and it gives you a huge advantage in terms of cost savings. So yes, advanced 10 years, I would love to see more of these trains in Africa.
Right.
And I think it will prove itself because of the cost savings, the sustainability, the fact that it's friendly to the environment. All of this works hand in hand to create a really sustainable solution.
I think that's a wonderful outlook that you've got. But in terms of, I think just before we wrap it up, let's talk about capacity, local capacity for, men and women who are qualified to be able to carry this vision through, as we currently noted in South Africa and via the N4. Do we have enough capacity to see this kind of technology through? What kind of skills are needed to fulfill this work?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The equipment itself is not, rocket science to operate.
Right.
A good training session over 3 days will enable most decent operators to be able to use these machines. Yes, of course, if you want to dig deeper into the technology, you will still have your engineers that's needed to design the road, to make sure that what is essentially done fits into their program in terms of the design of this new road. So there are the regular or the existing type of skills needed that's already in Africa and South Africa. There are many skilled road engineers, KBK being one of them. Taupele consists of a number of engineers that understands the process and saw the advantages of it and therefore bought into the technology. And then, of course, I think also the road owners could be either the government or could be a concessionaire like TRAC at this, in this instance. They really saw what this could bring in benefits, and therefore they adopted the technology. In terms of operators and people working around this train, it is similar to a paving train. It is similar to a cold recycler, which already exists. It's that just this process plant that's now been adopted with this CR train that's really giving us the advantages over and above, let's say, the individual technologies that already exist. But quick answer to your question, I think the skills do exist, and if they're not there, we can train them. We can uplift the people to such an extent that these technologies become part of their daily work.
Okay, well, that is wonderful. Congratulations on just the infrastructure, and I think from an economic perspective, things are looking bright and wonderful, and I can't wait for my site visit. Thank you so much for the time, and best wishes for the year 2026.
Biggest of pleasures, and go well, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to give you a bit more info on this technology.